Hi everyone, so this is a second video tutorial focusing on Google Slides. So if you remember in the last video, we actually went through this exact slideshow and we went through each slide and worked on recreating each one. In today's video, I want to focus on two specific techniques that are in reality quite simple, but I think can be very, very functional and very, very useful for you while you're creating your international language lessons for your students. So starting off on this slide, if you take a look, there are quite a few things on this slide, right? We have our PDF, we've got quite a few text boxes, we have a word bank, and we have a call out. And they're all somewhat overlapping each other, right? So what happens sometimes when we add so many different things onto our slides is that sometimes we get to something like this, right? When this evidently needs to be in front of the PDF, but it gets stuck behind, and it just doesn't work, right? It doesn't look right. We can't read the text, so the students can't read the instructions. It's not functional. So a quick way to fix this is to right-click on the object that needs to be moved, go down to Order, and then I'm going to choose between the four options whether to bring it forward or bring it backwards. So in this case, I want to bring it to the front, and there you go, and it gets brought straight to the front. Same thing if you'd like to bring it to the back. So for example, the word bank, let's say I want to put it behind my PDF. I'm just going to go Order and Send to Back. So it's just a very, very simple and easy way of managing all the things that are on your Google slide and making sure that everything is where it needs to be essentially. So that's it for the first one. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is the different layout options that are available to you. So if we take a look at this Google slide right here, you might recognize this activity from the last tutorial video that we created. So as you know, in order to finish this activity or to complete the activity, the students are to use the arrows and drag the arrows as to match the color of the paint splatter to the corresponding word, right? So it's very simple, fairly easy activity to do. However, what happens sometimes with the students is that they're not able to get a good click on the arrow, or sometimes they just misclick or just make a simple mistake, and rather than moving the arrow, they end up doing something like this, where they move the page. And that evidently is just not going to work because it messes up the whole activity. So it might happen they do it with that, they might accidentally click on the background and move that, and it just messes up the whole thing. So what I'm going to teach you to do is how to format your Google slide in a way that the things that are on your page that the students do not need to modify or do not need to move in order to complete the activity don't move. And it might sound a bit complex and a bit complicated, but I promise once I explain it to you, it'll make a lot more sense. So let's just take a look at this Google slide for now. I have my background picture here. I have a call out. I have this PDF activity. I have the different arrows, and I have two text boxes. So of all of the items that I just listed, the only two things that the students really need to touch or change in order to complete the activity are the arrows and the text boxes. Everything else should not move and should just remain exactly the way it is, even after the activity is completed. So how do we make sure that that happens? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to click on one of the items that does not need to move. So in this case, I'm just going to start with the background picture. So once you've clicked on one of the items, you're going to press down on the Shift key on your keyboard, and you're going to start selecting all the other items while still holding down the Shift key. So I'm going to select my callout, and I'm going to select my PDF. Do not select the arrows and the text boxes because, as we said, those things need to move. We are only clicking the things that are staying stable and are not being modified by the children when completing the activity. So once you've selected all of your things that don't need to move, you're going to let go of the Shift button, and you can copy and then delete. So now at this point, I just have my white screen and the things that I hadn't selected previously. Once you've got that out of the way, you can go down to Slide and Edit Master. So once you're here in the Edit Master, you're going to see that there's a few slides here that you get to choose from. The first one is the master slide. Do not touch the master slide. The reason being is if you make any modifications to the master slide, it is going to affect all the other slides in your slideshow. So in this case, we're actually working on slide 5. If you touch the master slide, it's going to affect slide 4 and slide 3, etc., and it's going to make a mess. So make sure that you're choosing one of the slides under layouts. So if you scroll down, there's all these different ones, and you can choose whichever one you'd like, even if it already has writing on it. Just click on the text box of the writing, and you can get rid of it and create the white page that you need. The important thing you need to do is you need to make sure that up here it says used by 0 slides. And the reason being is if it says used by 1 slide, for instance in this case with the master slide here it says used by 1 slide. You don't want that. You want to pick a slide that is not currently in use, right? So once you have your white page and you have your used by 0 slides, you're going to paste those items you had previously copied, and you're going to rename the slide. So I personally like renaming the slide after the slide number that I'm currently working on. So in this case, slide 5, but you can rename it whatever you'd like. So once you have that, you just click OK, and you can now exit this part. So now I'm back to my original slide. Once I get back here, all you're going to have to do is you're going to right-click. Right-click, make sure you're not right-clicking on one of the text boxes like I just did, but over here where on the slide, you're going to go Apply Layout, and you're going to see the layout that I just created, that we just worked on, which I named Slide 5. So you're going to click on that, and it's going to automatically be imported onto your page. So now once that is put back on your page, as you can see, I actually can't move any of those things around. So I can move the arrows still, I can move the text boxes, I can write in the text boxes, but I can't move around or modify any of these other things. And so this is just a really great way to make sure that when the students are completing the activities, they are only able to modify the aspects of the slide that they need to be able to modify, right? You don't want them messing around with the call out or the background or accidentally clicking on anything, because it's just going to make a mess. And this is just a really, really great habit to get into with all of your slides, just to make sure that the way that you format them is the way that they remain. And that way the functionality of the Google slide and of the lesson remains intact, even after the students have messed around with it. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this is useful. I hope that you guys are able to use these techniques. And yeah, thank you.